What are the qualities of a good project manager? When I first started doing project management facilitation, in other words, teaching project management classes, this kind of question was often sitting right on top of somebody's brain, but didn't always make it to their mouth. But then somewhere along the line, particularly in a fundamentals class, somebody would raise their hand and say, wait a minute, I'm trying to learn how to be a good project manager. But it sounds like you expect me to be a conflict resolution expert and a negotiator and a counselor and a psychiatrist and a babysitter and a scheduler. And I would stop them and I would say, all of the above. Because to a certain extent, that's what's going to separate a decent project manager from a good project manager to a great project leader. Look, as you know, we really love giving specific hints that you can use, things that you can do immediately on any of the topics that we present. And so if this video is something that you think somebody else would also enjoy, please feel free to share it or, subscribe and encourage them to subscribe. Okay, pitch over. But interestingly enough, one of the things that I tell people is that if you really want to be a good project manager, there are some specific qualities that you're going to want to cultivate. And one of them is being willing to put out there that you think you're good, you think your team is awesome, and that you want them to see what terrific work your team is doing. The other thing that you might want to really cultivate is the ability to do public speaking. Because sometimes your project team, periodically your own career, are going to be hinging on your ability to do that well. Oh, and one other thing about that whole negotiations comment. Yes, yes, and yes. Now, you may ask why this is all important to you. So let me kind of outline this a little bit. We're going to go through each one of these things on a step-by-step basis, but I want you to really think about what you have to do in project management and what you could do in project management. You can deliver a status report. You absolutely have to deliver status reports. But could that status report also be an opportunity for you to demonstrate to the leadership team how hard your team has been working, how effectively your team has been working, and all of the efforts that your team has gone to try to make sure that things continue on a smooth path? You have to deliver status reports. What you could do is also use those opportunities to not just update some of your key stakeholders, but to educate them just a little bit. Now, in the leadership-driven project management Enlightened Triple Constraints, we talk a lot about how it's based in relationships, but we also say that if the relationship is strong enough, that means you'll know what their expectations are. I'm going to tell you, no matter how strong the relationship is, it wouldn't hurt if you developed a little bit of skill and the fine art of uncovering hidden objections. Hence the suggestion for learning how to, quote, sell, or as we like to call it, influencing without authority. Last but not least, I'm pretty sure you've noticed by now that in project management, you do a lot of negotiating. So it makes sense to try to get a little bit better at it. Now, some people say, well, Kimi, those really aren't qualities, those are skill sets. So let's talk about some very simple steps that you can take to improve the qualities within you that can be drawn out and deployed in those skill sets. Number one, you probably have a lot of people in your life that you can have decent, flowing, and even perhaps passionate conversations with without feeling like you're being put on edge or putting on display or being recorded. That's because you've got a quality that allows you to interact with the person you're speaking with, to connect, to help them see the point of what you're saying, and to be open enough to see the point of any ideas they may have. These are important qualities that sometimes get missed in the process of thinking, okay, I'm going to take a presentation skills class. I'm going to take a public speaking class. I'm going to join Toastmasters. Awesome. I think that's good because everybody needs to practice this. Yes, everybody. Some of my heroes in the professional speaking community, and I'm not going to embarrass them by telling them they're not just my colleagues in that community, but they're sort of my heroes, advocate practice. Not because you want to get it word perfect, but because you want to get it connection free, flowing, and strong. Word perfect? That would be great if you were an actor. But you have a different audience every single time you have to deliver a report. Oh, it may not look like any different faces are actually in the room, but circumstances have changed and sometimes perspectives have changed. So the people who are sitting there this month aren't the people who were sitting there last month, and that becomes important. So, step one, utilize the qualities that you already have, that you use effortlessly when you're just talking with friends or just chatting with colleagues. You can speak well. You can be passionate and articulate. And you can do all of that because you've built a connection with the people that you're speaking with. So, step one, start looking for the things that you already do well. The qualities of connection and of being able to speak beautifully with somebody that you're comfortable with can be carried over to public speaking. Step two, look for areas where it may not seem obvious to you, but they relate to those very skill sets that we were talking about. Now, I'm going to tell you, one of the sharpest negotiators I have ever met in my life was a young lady named Rachel, and she was about 5 at the time. Getting Rachel to agree to go to bed at the right hour and in her PJs, not in the filthy coveralls she was wearing from having played all day, was a serious negotiation. And there were times when I'm going to tell you she won. But more often than not, we came to an agreement. Because you don't negotiate to just win or lose, you negotiate to solve a problem. And sometimes solving that problem means a little win, a little lose on each side. So, how have you convinced somebody to do something in your personal life, in your role in the community? That's how you best negotiate. So, think about the ways that you could take that and amp those skill sets up just a little bit. Because negotiating requires the ability to listen. You can't negotiate if you don't know what the other person's really caring about. That doesn't mean they're not telling you. They're trying to tell you. But sometimes even the best of us aren't quite getting whatever it was the person opposite us is trying to say. We're getting the words they say, but we might not get the message. So when you negotiate with anybody, whether it's over where you're going to go to dinner or where the family reunion is going to be now that these horrible non-travel times are over, you're going to have to listen to why people say what they say, not just what they say. That's a quality that you already have. But like most of us, well, there aren't many of us who couldn't stand a little bit of an improvement in that. Now, another quality that is a great deal more subtle is the willingness to be proud of what you've accomplished, of what the people you represent, your team, have accomplished. Be willing to be proud about it. Because you see, I know you are proud of it. You're proud of all the work. You're proud of the achievements. You're proud of the schedules, which God only knows how, but you kept them. You kept the budget. You delivered. And I know that's something that you feel good about, but be willing to be publicly proud of that. Because part of your role as a project manager or project leader is to be an advocate for the efficiency and the effectiveness and the high performing productivity of your team. Help other people see the actual value of what your team accomplished by being willing to be publicly proud of them. Step 3, a very particular quality: persistence. Yes, I just told you that there are things that you already do really, really well. But it takes practice to get really, really good at it in a completely different context. So be persistent about it. Don't beat yourself up. Look for areas where you do well, and hopefully you've got a few friends who might be able to give you the absolutely most amazing gift. The gift of courageous and candid feedback. You see, some of the things that you might not want to hear are exactly those things that you need to hear. Sound kind of familiar? After all, as project leaders, sometimes that's our job, is to tell people what they need to hear but don't want to hear. And your ability to do that is a quality that will take you very far, and not just in public speaking or negotiations, or, as I mentioned, influencing without authority. Persistence also means that you respect the other individual's feelings, and so it requires that you pay attention. So, step 1, use what you already do well. Find those moments where you're already deploying many of these skills, and use the quality of discernment to figure out how you're going to use that now in the workplace. Step 2, find like situations. When was the last time that you did a negotiation? And open up the lens. When was the last time that you had to persuade somebody to something? And when was the last time that you had to make your case to someone who wasn't entirely convinced that you're on a solid grounding? And step 3, deploy your quality of persistence. Even Yo-Yo Ma didn't sound the way he is able to make a cello sound right from the beginning. At least I don't think so. Most of the things that you become very good at are based in qualities that you already have inside of you. However, if you want to take it up a notch and improve the level of your professional performance with these particular skills, the qualities of being able to find where you already do it, being able to identify the context in which you do it well, and be willing to apply persistence. Well, those are the qualities that will not only make you a good project manager, but they'll make you a great project leader. I'm Kimi Zimski. Thank you so much for joining us here. This video was brought to you by the Leadership Driven Project Management Initiative. See you next time.